Welcome to Paris Underground Radio. My name is Annette Deleu, and this is The Heart of You. In today's episode, we are going to talk about the very juicy topic of manifesting. And I know almost all of you know what that means. Everybody has spoken about manifesting in some way. Oh, well, I manifested that is a very common colloquial saying that people will say if something just magically appeared into their life. The reality of it is you did manifest that. And not only did you manifest that magical thing that came into your life, but you may have also manifested that not so great thing that came into your life. And let me explain why. We are manifesting every second of every day of our entire lives. Whether you realize it or not, it is something that is constantly happening. You don't necessarily even have to try. It just is one of the laws of the universe. You may be thinking, wait, hold on. There are laws in the universe? Yes, absolutely there are. And if you don't know what they are yet, that means you have not listened to episode 11. So I want you to go back to the previous episode, listen to that one, and then come back to this one. But to get back to our topic of manifesting, if you are consistently manifesting all day, every day, wouldn't you want to manifest only things that bring you joy and happiness in this life? Wouldn't you want to try to avoid manifesting the things that bring you sadness and anger and all of those lower energies that we'd like to pretty much keep at a minimum? Now, there is nothing wrong with the lower energies in the sense that in order for us to learn a lot of our lessons, we do have to feel some of those emotions and we have to go through those emotions, such as anger or jealousy or sadness, in order to come out the other side and grow as human beings. What we don't want to create is unnecessary lower emotions. I understand that knowing now what you know, which is that you are the one that is manifesting all of the things in your life, with the exception of things that are in your soul contract, but we will get to that in a moment. It can be a little daunting because you start thinking, oh my God, I have to now be aware of absolutely every thought that goes on in my head, every emotion, because I don't want to create anything negative in my life. And that's simply not the case. So just take a deep breath and relax. It's not going to change your life significantly from the way you live it now. You just need to make very small adjustments to your daily routine. And I can tell you right now that it will make your life flow so much better. The first thing that you can do right now that will change your life for the better is to stop anticipating what is going to happen when you interact with a certain person or if you walk into a particular situation. We've all been guilty of this, and myself included, where you go into a conversation with somebody that you know pretty well, and you have to speak to them about something, let's say it's pretty serious, and you've already had the conversation in your head. You already know what they're going to say. You already know how it's going to go and that they're going to be disappointed or they're going to be angry. And you've already mapped this all out in your head and you already know exactly how it's going to go. And you haven't even spoken to the person yet. That is manifesting. You are putting that energy into that conversation before you have even had it. So if you decide to have this conversation with this person, it is likely to go exactly the way that you think it will because you are manifesting that energy. Take that same situation and look at it from a different perspective. Simply write down the things that you want to say to this person if it's a difficult conversation. If it's not, you can just fly by the seat of your pants if you would like, and just wait to see what they say in real life, in real time. Don't think about the conversation ahead of time. Don't think about what they're going to say and go down that rabbit hole of, oh, well, I know exactly how they're going to react because I just know them and I know that they're not going to accept this or they're not going to be happy with this. That is the energy that you don't want going into this conversation. Just that small change, which is write down what you want to say and then just imagine that the other person is being accepting and positive and supportive to you. Feel what it's like when that happens. That feeling of relief, that feeling of gratitude that you have this person in your life. That beautiful feeling of, I love this friendship. If you are having a conversation with anybody today, I encourage you to use this technique prior to having the conversation and just see how much better it goes. It is possible that the other person will react exactly the way that you thought they would, possibly in a negative way, but that is not because of you and your energy that you are putting forth into the conversation. It is simply their own issues or their own reactions that they are having to the situation at hand. You might ask, well, if the person reacts badly to this conversation, then are you saying that I manifested that as well? And the answer is, if you went into the conversation with beautiful energy, with open energy, expecting absolutely nothing as far as what the response was going to be, then no, you did not manifest that situation. If you went into it in the negative energy where you had already decided how the conversation was going to go, then yes, it is possible that you manifested that because you were bringing that energy to the conversation. One of the most difficult parts about manifesting is retraining your brain to think differently than you normally do. The best way to do that is simply by repetition. It's not going to happen overnight, and it's not going to happen to absolutely 100%. It's almost impossible to do that. We're human. We're fallible. It's going to happen where our brains are going to go down that deep, dark path, and we're just going to sit there and stew in that for a little while, and that's perfectly okay. What you want to do to practice getting off that little dark path is, once you catch yourself going there, having that little conversation in your mind with the other person, stop. Acknowledge that thought and replace it with something else. And if you're not in a position where you can replace it with something else, then simply distract yourself. Do something completely different than what you are doing. If what you are doing is forcing you to get too much wrapped up into what is going on with this conversation or in your head, then go and distract yourself. Go and call a friend. Go for a bike ride. Go and do something that is going to bring you some joy and that will get you out of that cycle of going down that little dark path. And after a while, you'll start to realize that your thoughts that you have about these sort of situations are naturally just going to sort of align with where you want to go in your life and the positivity and the beauty that you want in your life. And things will start falling into place more often than you think they will. One of my favorite speakers about manifesting is Abraham Hicks. And if you have not heard of her, she is a breath of fresh air. And a lot of times, if I'm having a hard time manifesting the things that I want to manifest, or if I'm in a little bit of a slump, I will go to YouTube and I will listen to one of her videos. There's a ton of them, and just listening to her for like 10 minutes, and it gets me right back, as how she puts it, right back into the vortex. And being in the vortex means that you are going with the flow of your life. You're not traveling upstream, you're traveling downstream. That is something she says quite often. I would highly recommend you give her videos a listen. One of the things she talks about is putting things into your vortex. I like to think of it as your little bank account that you're putting things into as far as your manifestations. The one thing I find most people don't talk about is the fact that you do have to manifest in the short, mid, and long term. For example, you really want to manifest money, and you're putting all of that energy into imagining that $11 million in your bank account and you're feeling viscerally what it feels like to see that number in your bank account, and you're feeling such joy and gratitude that you have this money in your bank account. That's fantastic. And that is such great manifesting, because the key to manifesting is not only thinking it, but feeling it and knowing that it is already here. And that is fantastic, but it might take 15, 20, 30 years for that to come into your life. So what do you do in the meantime? Are you just going to sit around and say, well, my $11 million is supposed to be manifesting. Why isn't it here? The reason for that is because it has to do with divine timing. Now, divine timing is super tricky. It's super tricky because we don't know. We don't know when it is going to be in our highest good to receive that $11 million. There are also other complicated issues, such as items that you have in your soul contract. If your soul contract states that you are not supposed to be rich in this lifetime because you have to experience poverty in order to learn a particular lesson, then you can try to manifest that money all you want, but it might not come. In addition, you may have taken vows of poverty in a past life. And that's where the Akashic records come in handy, is because let's say you were a monk in a previous life and you took a vow of poverty, then that could be affecting your ability to manifest this $11 million. It becomes a little complicated once you start looking at the big picture. So in order to make sure that you are taken care of, that you are in the flow of your life, you need to manifest for right now. And right now, you are manifesting the money that you need for your apartment, for your house. You are manifesting the money that you need for your daily bills, for all of the things that you have coming in. You are manifesting that money. You are manifesting that money for paying off debts or anything else that you have going on in which you need to make right. And I'm not saying that you're not supposed to be manifesting this $11 million. What I'm saying is you can manifest that. And I highly encourage you to keep a manifestation journal. You can write down in your manifestation journal today's date and the sentence, I have $11 million. And that's it. And that's all you have to say. Then maybe the next line you can say, I have $50,000 in my bank account. And then maybe below that you say, I have enough money in my bank account to pay my rent, pay my bills, and have a little bit left over to go traveling or do some things that I really would love to do. That would be a really good example of manifesting in the immediate present, the near future, as well as the distant future. How fast it comes can also depend on you. It can depend on your free will decisions. If your angels are giving you very clear signs that you need to take a particular action that is going to put you on the path to have this amazing abundance in money, and you don't take that opportunity, then of course there will be other opportunities that will come along. It just might take a little longer for you to get there. I can tell you from personal experience that the abundance that you receive and the fruition of your manifestations can come in some really unexpected ways. We will be right back with the Heart of You after a word from our sponsors. Welcome back to the Heart of You on Paris Underground Radio. Several years ago, while I was in the middle of my spiritual awakening and I was going through a pretty rough time, and I decided that I needed some coaching. I needed to hire somebody to help me through this. And so I would be able to have a different perspective. And so I wasn't so much in my own head. I contacted this couple who do spiritual guidance coaching, and they wanted $5,000 for the coaching program that they have. And of course, I am willing to pay that. That's not a problem because I know what a value that service is. But at the time, I was losing clients with my design business because I had several clients who had gone out of business and various different things that had happened. Basically, what happened was I decided to take the leap of faith because my angels had told me, absolutely, you have to do this. I was like, I don't understand how I can do this. I don't have $5,000 to spend. I just don't. I would be putting it on a credit card and I would be going into debt, and I didn't want to do that. And my angels were like, no, you have to do this. And I said, oh, okay. So I agreed to do it. I signed the contract. I went in and paid the money. I remember going outside and sitting down in the little park by my house, thinking to myself, what on earth did I just do? I was having a little bit of buyer's remorse because I was completely now $5,000 in debt and I didn't know why I had spent this money. And I started going into that little panicky place. And my angels kept on assuring me, it's okay. It's okay. The money will come. The money will come. And I said, okay. The fact that I trusted my guidance. I went forward with it, even though internally I was kind of in not a great place. Less than 2 weeks later, I got a check in the mail, and I'm not kidding you, for $5,000. It was a payoff for a previous job I had done. And this was going back like 4 years prior to this. And there happened to be some extra money that was distributed. And essentially, that's how I got that $5,000. It was completely unexpected. I had no idea that this money was coming. And all of a sudden, it was just there. Sometimes you really do have to take those big leaps in order to have the universe show you and prove to you what is actually possible. That is also a really good example of why you don't have to worry about any sort of negative thoughts that come into your head, because clearly during that time, I was in constant worry about what was going to happen with my bank account and all of these things. But because I was doing something that was aligned with my soul, it was something that was going to help me with my soul contract. It was also something that I was meant to do. It came so easily. Now, if it is something that is going against your soul contract, it might not come as easily. All of these things, they all work together. I mentioned in the very first episode of The Heart of You that I manifested the apartment that I'm currently in here in Paris. And I won't go over that story again since I already told it, but I will elaborate and say, I was not necessarily in the best mindset when I was trying to manifest that apartment, but I still did it anyway. I wrote it all down in my manifestation journal and I knew exactly what I wanted. And because I was aligned with it, it was part of what I was supposed to be doing. It came very, very easily. So if something is not coming to you easily, as far as your manifestation is concerned, it might actually not be for you, or it might not be the right time. And that's where we come to one of the last things you must do in manifestation. That is to forget about it. And that is so hard. That is the hardest thing for us to do. If you are trying to manifest something that you really, 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 really want, and the universe basically says, okay, so in order to manifest it, you need to forget about it. But how do you forget about it when it's something you really want? Maybe you're not able to forget about it, but what the universe wants you to do is basically understand, believe, and know that it's already done and that you leave it up to the universe to bring it to you in divine timing. Let the universe bring it to you when you are ready. Another good practice to get into is to say, I would like this or something better. As I had spoken about in the angels episode, very similar to asking your angels for help. If you are manifesting something in your life and you want this specific thing, there might be 10 other things out there that are way better for you and you're not even aware of them yet. When you are writing in your manifestation journal, you can always add that little caveat at the end, or something better. The one thing I have found in my experience so far with manifestation is when I'm manifesting something just for myself and it just includes the universe giving to me what I'm asking for, such as an apartment or money or anything like that, it's pretty easy to do. And after you get the hang of it, you can actually start seeing the results of it pretty quickly. The biggest thing that is a challenge in regards to manifesting is when you are talking about another person. And a lot of people ask me about this if they are trying to manifest the great love of their life. And as much as I would like to say that you can manifest the perfect romantic partner in your life, the problem with this is we have our soul contracts. We have our lessons we're supposed to learn. So if you are trying to manifest somebody right now who is the perfect romantic partner, but let's say you've only learned half of the lessons you were supposed to learn in this lifetime, you may not be ready for that absolute perfect partner. You have probably experienced where you keep on dating the same person over and over again over a period of time, and then it changes. Well, that's because you've learned your lesson and now you've moved on to a different lesson. And maybe the next person who is teaching you that lesson is the love of your life. And maybe the way that they are teaching you the lesson is in a beautiful, loving way, as opposed to in a way that is destructive to your life or challenging in any way. Trying to manifest people is very much a case of be careful what you wish for. Because if you're wishing for a partner at this moment and you are in a really, really bad place, let's say you are just really sad and kind of depressed and you're really looking for an escape, you probably will get exactly that. You will get what you need, which is an escape, but you're most likely not going to get a beautiful, loving, romantic partner. I'm not saying that it's not possible. Of course, anything is possible. What I'm saying is that if you were trying to manifest a specific person or a romantic partner in your life, it is a little bit harder to do. As well as the other person has their own free will. They have their own things that they are manifesting. So if you keep things open and broad in general, similar to what I was talking about when you're asking your angels for help, then you're going to be much more pleased with the outcome of the situation than if you were to ask for this specific thing and then you get it and then you're like, oh God, this is not what I wanted at all. The one thing you can do, though, is let's say you would like to have more aligned friendships. You can simply write down in your manifestation journal that you have beautiful friends that you have a lot in common with, that you completely align with. You can ask for a romantic partner in the same way. But as long as it's something that is completely general, then that is something that can come to you relatively easily. As long as your soul and your angels and the universe are all in agreement that this is something that is for your highest good. Let's recap on how to manifest your most delightful, best life. Step 1 is daydreaming and thinking about what it is that you truly want. Connecting with your heart space and understanding that it's not just what you think you want, it's what your higher self, your soul, and your angels all agree is for your highest good. So just let your mind wander and think about the situation at hand and think about the most optimal scenario for that situation. Step 2 is to feel what it feels like to already have that particular thing in your life already. The key to manifesting is to always think about it in the present moment as if it is already here. Imagine what it's like to call a friend and tell them the great news that this particular situation has manifested exactly the way that you wanted it to. Imagine that excitement. Feel that excitement viscerally in your body. If you need to, dance around your house. Do a little happy dance, imagining what it's like to have this situation come to fruition. Step 3, write it down in your manifestation journal. Be as detailed as you want with things like money, jobs, apartments, any of those types of things. If it involves another person, you can be as general as you would like. Describe the emotions you feel when you have this particular thing manifesting in your life. Then I want you to close your manifestation journal, put it away, and forget about it. Release it to the universe. And that is step 4. Release it to the universe. Believe that it has already happened and it is already here for you. And it is done. If this is your first time specifically creating and manifesting, I encourage you to try this process with something pretty small. Don't start with super huge things yet because, as I said, those things can take a lot of time. So start very small initially, and once you start seeing the result of your manifestation, it will start to build that confidence and trust in the universe that the universe always has your back. Thank you so much for joining me today. I want to thank Paris Underground Radio for producing this episode. And please go to parisundergroundradio.com to check out all the other wonderful podcasts on the station. If you would like to book a spiritual guidance session with me, you can go to my website at infinitesoullove.com. Also, don't forget to follow me on social media at infinitesoullove1111.